Part 3. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 21. Crazy Confucian and Demon Buddha were online at the time. They were very excited to see Shen Xian coming. When they saw the stunning beauty behind the little red flower, they wondered in their hearts that their cousin, who didn't talk to girls in class and didn't watch movies not suitable for children at home, would actually look for a woman. Compared with Una's appearance, Shen Xian seemed much more normal, but when they saw Xiao Yunruo, several guys couldn't help drooling all over the floor. There are too few girls in the dungeon. Either they play elves or humans. The underground world where no birds shit and no chickens lay eggs is terrifying and gloomy. How many girls would like it? Or such a pretty lady from a noble family? Shen Xian's opinion is similar to theirs. Miss Xiao is really okay. She has regular facial features and well-proportioned limbs. Except for her underdeveloped breasts, she is really pretty. Haha, you guys try PK with Hei Badian. What? Boss Shen, aren't you afraid that we will destroy the flowers? We don't know who will be ravaged, Miss Xiao thought. I thought Xiao Yunruo would last a few minutes before dying, but she died in less than 10 seconds, shocking everyone. Mofo quietly sent a private message to ask his cousin, who is the beauty next to Boss Shen? His girlfriend? His customer? Why did she die so quickly? I don't know, but she looks more like a girlfriend. Mofo laughed awkwardly, thinking that he originally wanted to test the beauty's strength, but he didn't expect it to be Boss Shen's girlfriend. No wonder her level is so bad, it's understandable. In the second game, Fengrua was ready to let Hei Badian, but before Fengrua could use a few fake moves to confuse the audience outside the field, Fengrua was killed in seconds. This time it was the turn of the three heads to be depressed. It turned out that the beauty's strength was not bad. If they had known earlier, they would have used all their strength. Seeing the guild leader's embarrassing look, the board members outside the venue competed to talk. Who is this beauty? Although her movements are still a little stiff, she has great potential. If I can train her, I will. The board members imagined the erotic things that happened with the beautiful players, and they almost drooled. The other members cheered and asked the boss to continue fighting to wash away the shame. Shen Xian was browsing the layout of the fortress. The defense line formed by 3 fences was extremely strong. Outside the fences were traps that tightly wrapped the entrance to the passage. Inside the fences were rows of buildings. In addition to houses, there were training grounds, infantry battalions, and archer battalions. The development model of the fortress is different from that of the dungeon. The purely military structure makes it single function, recruiting units very quickly, and there is no need to worry about food supply. 30 barbarian crossbowmen, 50 barbarian infantry, and 5 barbarian berserkers, this is the army currently owned by the 3 bosses. In addition, there are many skeleton soldiers, lizardmen, and minotaurs sent by players from all over the world. It is all-encompassing and eye-opening. The overall planning of the fortress is reasonable, and the fence is in a regular zigzag shape, which is conducive to the defense of crossbowmen and the protection of the fence. The warehouse and workshop are close to the fence, providing further protection, while facilitating soldiers to quickly obtain equipment and go into battle. In addition, there are no sawmills or quarries, and there are few entertainment facilities in the hotel except for taverns. Standing on the watchtower, you can see the light in the distance, which is the surface world, the home of countless ground races, and the paradise favored by countless gods. Feng Ru stood beside him. Boss Shen, what do you think? This arrangement method is based on the construction of ancient European castles, so there should be no problem. Well, there are not many problems. Fortunately, there are no magic soldiers now, and the enemy cannot use special means to enter. It is enough to rely on the barbarians. Barbarian crossbowman, normal, level 10, HP 400, attack power 80, defense power 10. Barbarian infantry, normal, level 10, HP 450, attack power 70, defense power 20. Barbarian berserker, normal, level 12, HP 510, fighting spirit 100, attack power 95, defense power 10. Barbarians are born with strong physiques and boundless power. When they are angry, they can tear apart any enemy who dares to block them like a beast. The barbarian crossbow uses a crossbow with strong attack power. It can even penetrate the heavy plate armor of the knight and can exert the amazing power of a bed crossbow. Such an army can easily sweep the surrounding forces in the hands of Shen Xian, but it is a pity that it can only be used for leveling in the hands of the three heads. Every night at 9 o'clock, the army from the Principality of Roland will rush here. What was the first time? It was 100 junior infantrymen. They came along the dark passage and made us die before they could achieve their goal, ha 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 ha. Junior infantrymen of the human empire? Did you suffer any losses? No. Okay, what about the second time today? It's in the mission description, right? 100 junior infantrymen, 10 mage apprentices, and 10 priest apprentices. This is not difficult. The problem is, does the other side have a commander? If there is a commander, it will be difficult to eliminate them. Shen Xian thought about it and knew that he would gain a lot of experience after completing the mission, so he would definitely be there in the evening. However, you must prepare early to win with the least loss. Whether it is a trap or an ambush, if used properly, it can achieve the effect of defeating the strong with the weak and reduce unnecessary losses. He left Xiao Yunruo here. She seemed to be very interested in ravaging and being ravaged. She didn't care about the outcome, just sparring with them. When Shen Xian returned to the camp, most of the buildings had been completed. The newly built tavern was located at the intersection of the small street. It was very eye-catching. Although its reputation was low, there were always NPC units appearing every few minutes. The tavern was a source of income. The profit of beer sold in the early stage was low. When there was technology to brew higher-end liquors such as rye and tequila, the daily income could reach thousands of gold coins. The alchemy laboratory was very successful under the operation of Mist Erlin. In addition to the fixed amount of enchanted equipment, there were also technological advances from time to time, which brought him a lot of wealth. Ilya came over, handed over the official document, and reported, "Lord, today we met dozens of swordsmen who came to surrender. Because of your high reputation, they hope to serve you." "I understand," Shen Xian said, and checked his overall ranking, 41,213th. It seems that the losses caused by the little Japanese have been made up. The economic construction is slightly behind, but the reputation and strategy are far ahead. No wonder it can attract NPCs to surrender, Shen Xian thought. When he saw the swordsmen who surrendered to him, Shen Xian was shocked by their miserable appearance with scars all over their bodies. Their equipment was all broken, and they didn't even have weapons. If it weren't for the word swordsman on their heads, he would have thought they were the most common type of surrendering units in human territory refugees. The leading swordsman was named Haben. He wore a slender thrusting sword and was well dressed. He looked very elegant. He said to Shen Xian in a depressed mood, "Lord, the church in the ground world has been hunting us for a long time. If you can solve the problem for us, we are willing to serve you." Haben's level is 30, which is much lower than that of the ogre's sister. The key is that he can open the construction authority of the infantry battalion and can directly recruit swordsmen. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 22. The dungeon currently lacks melee units. The inferior demons and the fire demons are both ranged attacks. If you encounter a slow unit, it's fine. If you encounter an extremely fast unit such as the Dark Elf's Double Blade Ranger or the Undead's Bloody Lord, you will only die. A single army is prone to fatal blows when encountering a type of army that restrains it, but a mixed army does not have this problem. I believe everyone knows it. In addition to Haben, the swordsman behind him is also very powerful, level 10. Although he is injured and there is no priest to treat him, he will be a huge help after recovery. You said that the church is chasing you, Shen Xian asked doubtfully. Yes, it's the believers of the God of Justice, Mirandar. Count Mask from the Pharaoh Empire. No way. God of Justice, Shen Xian was silent. He knew that the human faith in the surface world was divided into three major pantheons, namely the God of Justice, the God of Glory, and the God of Guardian. These gods are all boss-level figures with unpredictable divine power. It is basically a pipe dream to kill them. Their followers are equally powerful, and it is difficult to deal with them. Tips: Player Lord, China, receives the task, Haben's request for help, and needs to eliminate the hunting team from the Pharaoh Empire. Including 10 junior infantry, 5 mage apprentices, and Sir Coman. Reward reputation 100, experience 500. So little, Shen Xian looked at it. Although the level of the hunting units was higher, the number was completely incomparable to them. Yes. Why didn't you say it earlier? I'm worried that the Lord will not take us in. Shen Xian heard cold sweats. Okay, in this case, I promise you. Shen Xian nodded and let Haben join, and at the same time began to build a new building infantry battalion. Infantry battalion, 30 minutes, 200 wood, 300 stone, 500 health, 10 defense, able to recruit swordsmen. Let the inferior demons deliver mushroom food, and he let the tired swordsmen eat it. The mushroom food that can quickly restore life has significantly improved the injuries of many swordsmen. Then let Haben move to the house, and the satisfaction of the territory has increased immediately. Lord, thank you for your hospitality. I think we will be able to recover soon. Haben said gratefully, please let me accompany the Lord to complete the task together. Although Sir Coman is level 20, he is a powerful alchemist. If he cannot be eliminated quickly, he will be hurt by the explosive potion. After Haben finished speaking, Shen Xian was frightened by his character of saying half of the words. It turned out that the task was not as simple as imagined, but since he knew that Coman would use dirty tricks, there was nothing to be afraid of. Shen Xian asked Haben to continue to rest in the house. There was still some time before Sir Coman arrived. If he did not treat him well, wouldn't it be impolite? Haben is level 30, with 2000 HP. I believe that he will not object to being a meat shield in the future. It's a pity that Una can't be recruited. She has a special liking for my love little red flower. Otherwise, Una, who is level 60 and has 50,000 HP, would be the real king of meat shields. Shen Xian was thinking about the arrangement of the elite units in the territory, while Ilya was arranging new construction tasks. The population of the territory is nearly 100, and more houses are needed to accommodate the residents of the territory. According to the concept of the Lord, a complete residential area needs to have 10 houses, 1 market, and 1 well to ensure basic food and water supply. Basically, after meeting these conditions, the houses can be upgraded to the level of ordinary houses and accommodate 100 people. At the same time, each residential area needs to be connected by roads, and every 500 people need to arrange taverns, hotels, gardens, and equipment stores to meet the needs of combat units among the residents. In terms of resource production, it is necessary to ensure supply according to the ratio of 2 sawmills and 3 quarries. Each resource production building needs to be equipped with 2 warehouses to avoid resource depletion. In terms of military construction, sentry towers are built within a 10-kilometer radius around the territory, and fences need to be used less. First, the residents around the fences will be less satisfied, resulting in less tax revenue. Second, after upgrading to the center of the village, city walls can be built. City walls have more life and defense than fences, so they can be completely abandoned. According to this construction plan, Ilya kept thinking about it. The surrounding terrain and landforms need to be taken into account. At the same time, Haben needs to cooperate to clean up the surrounding magic beast tribes. At this moment, Shen Xian was sitting in Mistrelin's alchemy laboratory, watching the girl draw exquisite magic circles. The mysterious circuit was engraved on the metal surface stained with magic ink, emitting bursts of dazzling brilliance. Beside her, several goblin craftsmen were busy crushing magic crystals, mixing various magic essences with dyes and ores, and then filling them in crystal bottles and putting them aside. Seeing that the girl's work was completed, Shen Xian couldn't help asking, "Is this for me?" The girl blushed slightly, handed him the steel leg armor that had been enchanted, and murmured, "It's made for you, Master Shen Xian." The attributes of the equipment are Defense 10, Constitution 10, and Defense Enhancement 5%, which is comparable to the purchased equipment. It seems that Mr. Lin's metallurgy attribute is indeed used, but it takes too long to make equipment, otherwise it can be mass-produced. After taking the equipment, he directly equipped the steel leg armor. The size of the leg armor fits well. This is the biggest reward for Mr. Lin. The girl is obviously very happy, and then she took out the metal boots like magic and said, "And this, Master?" "Steel riding boots, normal, Defense 5, Constitution 5, Strength 5. Steel horse boots are a very good piece of equipment." After Shen Xian equipped them, his HP exceeded 400, which is not inferior to infantry of the same level. Except for magic, it is almost impossible to kill him. Unlike the mage who focuses on attacking, the Lord does not charge into battle, but uses people. There are many heroes in the tavern, and what kind of talents can't be found? It is possible to manage small villages and towns by doing everything personally, but it is difficult to deal with cities with a population of tens of millions and a territory of hundreds of billions. Shen Xian is looking for heroes that can be used by him. Whether it is Mistrin or Haben, or Ilya, Losander are all very potential units. As long as they can do the 4 words talent is the only one, they can basically play a big role. Of course, if the unit has a high enough favor and loyalty to you, and completes the unit's special task, it will trigger a rare advanced event to greatly improve the hero's ability. At the same time, the AI is strengthened, and it will be able to stand alone and become the key to the development of the territory. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 23. Sir Komen, who was chasing Haben, arrived late. His infantry stood in front alertly, and the mage released detection magic to prevent any possible hostility. NPCs often go to the tavern to spy on intelligence. In fact, Sir Komen didn't know that Haben had surrendered to the local lord and was still looking for him. Komen was an arrogant guy. He always held the view that people in the underground world were humble and lowly, otherwise how could there be so many mercenaries and adventurers who licked blood on the edge of a knife? With his identity as a knight of the Pharaoh Empire in the surface world, he should be respected and looked up to. Even so, when they entered the tavern and asked Haben, the mercenaries still ignored them. Seeing this, Komen's face was gloomy. "Haven't you seen him?" "Hey! Come on, Sir Komen is asking you a question," the infantry behind him scolded in a flattering manner. Around, several young mercenaries drinking beer were indifferent and looked normal. They were accustomed to such overbearing people and had long been accustomed to them. The infantry clenched their fists, extremely dissatisfied with their attitude. "Why don't you react at all? Are you dumb? Or do you want to protect criminals and go against the church?" The mercenaries were full of blood and looked at the arrogant infantry with cold eyes. Several mysterious wizards quietly held up the crystal balls in their hands and recited silently. Swish. The infantry's leg armor disappeared, and it seemed that the body of the Balrog was burning with raging flames. The surrounding mercenaries all laughed wildly when they saw such a wonderful performance. Coleman's face was not good. Although the other party did not insult him blatantly, it was undoubtedly a slap in his face. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? In the church of Mirandel, the god of justice, the eye of judgment, who dared to disrespect him as an alchemist? The dark elf ranger in a silver-gray short coat stood up and shouted, "Get out! This is not your place, sir, this is the underground world, not the brothel of the Pharaoh Empire." After that, several burly strong men behind him laughed so hard that they almost sprayed out the beer in their mouths. Coleman's face turned red and white. What he didn't expect was that the ranger on the opposite side could actually recognize his identity. Damn, could it be that the red bud emblem of the Pharaoh Empire is very popular? Coleman was about to explode with anger. Despite this, he was arrogant on the outside but very timid on the inside. He didn't dare to act rashly. Who knew where the other party came from? If it was some terrible existence, wouldn't it be courting death? Although he had a lot of soldiers in his hands, he had to deal with the monsters in the dark passage. He took a few steps back, and footsteps gradually sounded behind him. It was the patrol team of the territory. Under Ilya's arrangement, 3 wizard apprentices and 2 swordsmen formed a team to patrol day and night, which could reduce the crime rate, increase satisfaction, and allow the city to develop harmoniously. "Haha, the Lord's patrol is here, do you still want to resist?" the infantry called the patrolmen outside the tavern inn, thinking that it would be a good idea to let the local Lord's soldiers try instead of taking action. Seeing his men bring reinforcements, Coleman's face looked better. He thought that the local lord was quite sensible. Should he ask the Earl for a reward after returning? Sometimes, the underground world and the surface world have a little contact. In addition to speculative businessmen, there are also many people who are wanted for offending the powerful. Since they cannot sever their relationship with the surface world, there are often city lords in the underground city who obey the orders of the surface kingdom. After searching for Haben for 7 days and 7 nights, he didn't expect that he killed many of his own people. Although Coleman wanted to cut him into pieces, where could he find him? It's better to let them take the blame. It was not the first time that Coleman had done such a false accusation. The special ability of the alchemist made it easy for him to kill them and create evidence. If he handed them over to the Inquisition, Count Mask would be favored by Miss Catherine. Coleman had a good idea. Several wizard apprentices stood near him in cooperation, but what he did not expect was that all the attacks of the inferior demons were directed at him. "What do you want to do? Don't you know that I am a knight of the Pharaoh Empire?" "Haha, Sir Coleman, I am the lord of the fallen temple. Although I really want to help you, it's a pity that people with different ideologies cannot work together." After saying that, Shen Xian drew out the Lord's sword. Regardless of whether Coleman could understand ancient Chinese or not, he raised it high and issued an order to arrest him. The little flame demons all pounced on him like wolves. Although Coleman was powerful, he was weak as an alchemist and could not resist such a vicious attack. He was pushed to the ground in an instant. Haben waited for a long time, and suddenly thrust out his long sword. The moment the silver light flashed, the mage apprentice fell to the ground. "Friends, don't you want to help?" Shen Xian shouted, looking forward to the double-blade ranger and his companions who had appeared in the tavern earlier, and smiled friendly, "but there is no reward." "It doesn't matter." The double-blade ranger raised the red and blue 2-color blades, posed, and wanted to kill, but the barbarian behind him threw the magic tooth blade in his hand first. With a rumbling sound, the fierce red fighting spirit swept through the interior of the tavern, and everyone, including Shen Xian, fell to the ground. Looking at the armored infantrymen, they were already bloody. "I've been unhappy with them for a long time," the barbarian uttered a word, and his thick arms pulled, and suddenly after a sound, the magic tooth blade returned to his hand. What a tough guy! Shen Xian shouted in his heart, thinking that the levels of several NPCs were probably all above 100, and they actually beat the infantry to pieces. What kind of attack power is this? It's really abnormal. Although I have seen the magic cannons of the dwarves and the forbidden magic of the elves during the public beta, they are not as powerful as what I see now. Shen Xian couldn't help but pay attention to several NPCs. After reading their only information, Shen Xian found that they were all hero units. If 1,000th of ordinary units can be promoted to elite units, 1,000th of elite units can be promoted to hero units. Unfortunately, they look unfriendly, and it is impossible to recruit them. If they are angered, raising the territory will be a piece of cake. The double blade ranger of the dark elf is relatively kind. The ice and fire double swords in his hands are at least legendary level, but the barbarians and ogres behind him look extremely dangerous. The barbarian was not wearing any armor. His blood-red facial patterns, olive-colored skin, and bulging muscles were as perfect as a god. Shen Xian could even conclude that his body was comparable to that of a god, immortal, and even dragon breath or magic could hardly cause fatal damage. The ogre was holding a double-edged battle axe painted with ancient runes and a white warbear several meters tall. The warbear was strong and could make the little fire demon tremble with just a slight breath outside the tavern. The little fire demon was not an inferior demon. Unless it was the might of a dragon, how could it be so terrified? Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buledin Lao Buledin Si Buledin Me. Chapter 24. Haben grabbed Komen and searched several items from him. Shen Xian hurriedly examined them and found that they were either alchemical formulas or casting drawings. He was ecstatic. Bronze cross sword, recipe, time 5 minutes, copper ingot 10, tin ingot 5, attack power 20, must kill 5, conditional melee unit. Forged demon armor, recipe, time 3 minutes, iron ingot 5, defense power 10, conditional demon race. The bronze cross sword is the novice equipment for swordsmen in the early stage. It is low cost and easy to cast. It happened that Shen Xian didn't know how to deal with the ore imported from MK, and he just found a solution. Forged demon armor is a metal armor built on the surface of the demon's body, connected to the demon's body. Unless you change your job and advance, the equipment will never be removed in the future. In addition, there are 2 alchemical recipes. Strength enhancement, recipe, time 5 minutes, with 5% strength enhancement attribute. Life source, small, recipe, time 10 minutes, with 100 life increase attribute, condition alchemy laboratory, primary. The alchemy laboratory owned by Shen Xian can only be regarded as a primary one. In addition to its small area, it has no equipment and no potions, so it is understandable that it is called a primary one. Capturing Komen and completing Haben's mission has improved Haben's loyalty. As for the tough guy in the tavern, it is time to say goodbye after drinking. Thank you for the hospitality, Lord, the Double Blade Ranger said politely, and then disappeared into the darkness with his companions. Who are they? Shen Xian pondered. In front of Shen Xian, Haben half knelt on the ground and performed a knight's salute and said, "Thank you, Lord, for solving the trouble for us. Can you help me again?" Shen Xian received Haben's second mission to explore the reality of the Pharaoh Empire, requiring people to be sent to understand the current situation of the empire and the strength of Earl Mask, and then find Haben's fiancée Catherine. The plot of the mission is very simple, but it is obviously not appropriate to complete it now. If you are poor, you should take care of yourself, and if you are rich, you should help the world. Shen Xian will understand this principle. The construction of the territory is on the right track. Under Ilya's arrangement, new houses are rising from the ground, accompanied by an increasing population. The refugees in the surface world are victims of war. Because they lost their homes and did not want to be enslaved by the rulers, they came here to find a new life. At present, there are still few players who own farmland. Most players rely on hunting monsters or collecting berries to meet their needs, or demons and undead races do not need food at all. Farmers account for a large proportion of the refugees. They are good at working, but if there is no farmland, they can only starve to death. Farmers can open the construction rights of farmland. Wheat. Wheat cannot be cultivated in the underground world. They can only find work with players who have opened the construction rights of farmland. Mushrooms. Relying on this advantage, dozens of farmers have gathered in Shenxian's territory. Although their combat effectiveness is not as good as a few inferior demons, they are definitely one of the best in terms of food production capacity. At the same time, he conducted a second detailed investigation of the territory. After detailed statistics, he found that this was a mineral base with unique advantages. Iron ore, copper ore, tin ore, magic crystal ore, mithril ore, gold ore, gem ore, almost all conceivable minerals can be found here, but some are guarded by powerful monsters, and they cannot be obtained temporarily before sufficient strength. According to the division of regions, this belongs to the Dusk Hills, the first layer of the underground world, adjacent to the Dark Swamp and the Bone Canyon. If the nearby players are rich in minerals because they are in the Dusk Hills, the players in the Dark Swamp will be able to grow herbs and food to make up for the lack of minerals. Even if the types of territories are divided, the development of territories is still varied. Just like the World of Warcraft series, players can climb technology, can burst troops, and they have countless choices. At present, supporting the development of the alchemy industry with the advantages of minerals is undoubtedly the best choice. The mining industry is the primary industry, and its role is ultimately limited. The alchemy industry is the secondary industry, which will greatly promote technological progress and economic development. Shenxian's advantage lies in the advantages of food supply and the channels for resource output. Because of the existence of MK, his food can be exchanged for a large amount of gold, which can be converted into blueprints, formulas, and other information, quickly climbing the technology, and then far ahead. At the same time, the equipment produced in the territory can be exported in addition to arming its own swordsmen. In the war years, the arms business is always the most profitable. As long as you don't worry that your opponent will use equipment to attack you, buy and sell arms as much as possible. After determining the development policy, Ilya was much clearer in her heart, and let Luoshanda in the distance understand the Lord's ideas. The two managers were full of confidence in the future. Hundreds of units of magic crystal ore were piled up near the spire, and 7 or 8 goblin craftsmen followed Shenxian's instructions and began to build a library. Library, time 60 minutes, wood 200, stone 500, magic crystal ore 100, life 800, defense 25, can enable the mage to gain 100 experience/day, which changes with the number and quality of books in the library. The library is conducive to the rapid growth of the mage, and it is an absolute full operation. The mage does not need to do anything, and can gain a lot of experience by accumulating enough time. At the same time, the library also satisfies the preferences of some players who have a desire to collect. Imagine, what would happen if you collected all the maps of cities and regions in Realm? What would happen if you collected all the illustrations of monsters and creatures? Or some rare items, spoof items, which would definitely give people a sense of accomplishment. After the library was built, the goblin craftsmen engraved mysterious runes around the territory of the mage tower, and then placed pieces of carved magic crystals in it. When the mage is upgraded to level 30, he can rely on the power of magic crystals to raise the mage tower into the sky or open the protective barrier of the territory at any time, so that the enemies who dare to invade will never return. When the work of the goblin craftsmen was almost completed, Shenxian then directed them to build the element pool. Element pool, primary, time 60 minutes, Stone 800, Magic Crystal 300, Health 1500, Defense 20, can absorb nearby magic power, connect to the Mage's Spirit, increase Wisdom 10, Spirit 10, Magic Recovery Speed 25%. Primary Element Pool is extremely useful for mages who have not chosen specialization. In addition to saving a lot of magic potions, it can also accumulate magic points for the magician to use. Now, Miss Xiao's energy arrow at level 2 can be used 5 times in full magic state, but it can be used 6 times after connecting to the element pool. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 25. Brother Mofo, I remember you have played 42 games, right? Do you still want to come? Xiao Yunruo looked at the Mofo opposite and said accurately. Please, I didn't lose 42 games after playing 42 games, Mofo thought speechlessly, regretting his poor choice of friends, and then jumped on the wolf's back to attack. Mofo was a knight, so he rode the wolf and rushed over with a lance. The knight's initial attack was extremely terrifying, especially in military wars. The flood-like offensive could destroy any line of defense formed by infantry. Except for halberd soldiers, even heavy infantry holding huge tower shields could hardly resist. Xiao Yunruo used the mirror image. As the knight's lance pierced into the body, the mirror image created by magic dissipated instantly. She stood dozens of meters away and chanted a spell. Ice ring. The aqua blue ice exploded and flew in all directions. The moment it touched the wolf, the ice froze its body, greatly reducing its movement speed. The barbarians in the camp cheered and shouted. If such events were held in the territory, especially if the Lord participated in person, the loyalty and satisfaction of the barbarians would be greatly improved. Of course, the barbarians knew who Xiao Yunruo was. If the Demon Buddha accidentally lost the game, they would definitely boo and their impression of the Demon Buddha Lord would be greatly reduced. Black Knight 100 days, be careful. After the Demon Buddha said this gentlemanly, the wolf under his crotch howled, and bursts of blood-red air suddenly burst out of his body, and the speed was getting faster and faster. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yunruo leaned against the wall with his back. There, it was inconvenient for the knight to change direction and it was easy to hit the wall. If he hit the wall, he would be in a dizzy state for several seconds. At that time, no matter how high his level was, he could not escape from her palm. In fact, the girl relied on this insidious and shameless tactic to kill many people. Either she did not charge or hit the wall. In short, the knight without the speed advantage was no different from the infantry. Seeing Miss Xiao use this trick again, there was a lot of booing in the audience. The demon Taoist and the crazy scholar kept clicking their tongues, wondering how she had the face to use it. Xiao Yunruo certainly didn't know what others were thinking, but she was very impressed by her own tactics. This wall-sticking tactic was seen in an article written by a guy named Lord on the internet. It can be applied to any occasion with a wall. In his opinion, the wall-sticking tactic can not only break the knight's charge, but also break the enemy's encirclement, and has a wide range of uses. The Demon Buddha certainly can't charge like an idiot. The level of the warg is too low. If it is above level 50, it can directly break through the wall. But if he hits it now, how can he still have the face to be the boss of the guild? Slow down again. When the warg rushed to Xiao Yunruo, the Demon Buddha slowed down a lot. He has been in online games for many years and is experienced. Seeing Miss Xiao playing dirty again, he will certainly not repeat the same mistake. Order the warg to detour, pass through the 7 or 8 thick pillars standing in the arena, and quickly approach her. The magic of the mage needs the unit in the field of vision to be released. If you know this, you can still break it by directly attacking the pillars to cause indirect damage. Unfortunately, it was too late when Miss Xiao realized this. In a few seconds, the Demon Buddha approached and attacked, showing the style of a master. With just the right amount of strength, he thrust out with his sharp lance. he was still hesitating in his heart, whether to kill her instantly or to tangle with her. You know, his wife is not an idiot. If the acting is too fake, it will definitely be exposed. If he kills instantly, the player's death will inevitably be bloody, which is not good for his wife to see. Maybe she will say that he is cruel and does not know how to cherish women. The moment the demon Buddha hesitated, Xiao Yunruo was extremely nervous and didn't know what to do. Outside the field, the guild members complained about the boss bullying the beauty, and the barbarians cheered and cheered, looking extremely excited. As for the skeleton soldiers and lizardmen, they had a poker face and were indifferent because of their congenital disability. In a distant place, the mysterious spiritual power continued to resonate through the elemental pool, and Miss Xiao's lost magic power began to recover. Relying on the stress response, her APM soared rapidly, moving her body and releasing magic, both of which were carried out simultaneously, killing the stunned demon Buddha with a surprise attack. In an instant, the situation reversed. The demon Buddha, who was originally confident of victory, could not withstand Miss Xiao's bombardment and fell down unwillingly. The element pool is indeed extraordinary. Listening to Xiao Yunruo's boasting, Shen Xian wanted to tell her the reason, but there was still an important task to complete: the revenge task of the Principality of Roland at 9 o'clock in the evening. Although the Principality of Roland is a small country, the difficulty of the task is no simpler than the regional task that will be open soon. However, the reward of the task will be increased, thousands of experience and hundreds of reputation, enough to make any player crazy. In the past few days, from time to time, players who have been destroyed in their territories have come to surrender, and more players have gathered under the banner of Zushan. Even so, the three heads are still worried about not having enough manpower. When bringing Huo Ben here, Miss Xiao was lying on the ground to rest. The three heads pulled him as if they saw a savior, not for the task. Boss Shen, the talent you entrusted to us is indeed very potential. Of course, how can my vision be bad? Although I don't know how much potential has been tapped in the 100 days of darkness, it is still no problem for the APM to break through 400 and the WTP to reach 10,000. Yes, yes, several people said, thinking of having to endure such torture in the future, all complained bitterly. Speaking of revenge missions, this is the first time for the Zushan Guild to enter the game, and it is the best opportunity to exercise the cohesion of members. Although Shen Xian does not need to participate in the whole process, it is still easy for him to gain experience and hold the line just in case. The demon took out the map drawn on parchment. Shen Xian took it and looked at it, added a few key coordinates to his map column, and then began to make arrangements. First, here, the demon Buddha pointed to the dark passage on the map and said, "The terrain here is narrow and it is difficult for troops to pass through. I sent people to bury traps. Unless it is a heavy unit, it will suffer at least 500 points of damage after falling into it." The three took turns to explain the battle arrangement. In addition to the necessary troops to defend the nest, all the troops that could be sent out were sent out. The members' troops were ambushed around the passage, waiting for their arrival to give a fatal blow. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the revenge mission started on time. The players in the fortress received more or less missions, some of which were to investigate intelligence, some to eliminate the enemy, and some to win the battle, such as the three heads. The rewards for winning the battle are very rich: 3,000 experience, 300 reputation, which is much higher than the 150 experience of the reconnaissance mission. Those who are capable work harder and get more. This is an unchanging rule since ancient times. The insidious system therefore formulated tasks of corresponding difficulty to prevent any players from taking advantage of loopholes. Therefore, Shen Xian did not receive any tasks and could only watch the members busying themselves. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lau Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 26. Miss Xiao, you see Una has already taken action, is it time for you to take action? Why don't you take action? Am I not the supervisor? The All Heaven Guild is not my guild. Do you understand that I am a friendly guest? I am content to just stand on the wall and get some experience. Really? It seems like you are wronged. How about we attack together, and you blame me for killing you? Of course Shen Xian would not be fooled. He was a lord. Would any lord take the lead? Either you are extremely confident in yourself, or you are an idiot. In large-scale battles, the negative effects of the death of a lord are not only one or two, it will not only greatly reduce the combat effectiveness of the army, but also constrain the AI of elite units. What's more, the leaders haven't taken action yet. Is it necessary for him to take action? Shen Xian shook his head, showing an expression of indifference, as if telling her that you can go if you want, I don't care. Miss Xiao stamped her little feet angrily, snorted and rushed out with Huo Ben. Huo Ben was level 20, had 2000 health, and 100 defense. It was a sure thing that he would protect Miss Xiao. Shen Xian did not lose experience when watching. Ilya was in charge of the territory, so he did not need to worry too much, so he watched with peace of mind and watched the changes in the battle situation. As both sides invested a large amount of troops, the battle situation became complicated and confusing. From time to time, units killed in battle fell to the ground, and from time to time, upgraded units gained strength. From simple number games to the glory of the guild, the battle became more and more fierce. For the guild leader, generally speaking, they don't mind the losses they suffer because of it. As long as they can win, even if they suffer a heavy blow financially, they will definitely gain a bumper harvest in terms of reputation. The role of reputation is like the real world. If you are a star, even if you are penniless, there will be people. You pay the bill. Rog stood behind the battlefield, his snow-white sacrificial robe dyed crimson due to the killing. Along with the use of divine magic, the holy faction's spell Bright Storm suddenly launched, and countless rays of sacred light came through the dark passage. When the golden light shines down like the morning sun, all units with chaotic and evil characteristics are harmed. The weak skeleton soldiers instantly turned into withered bones, and the demons were purified and ignited with holy flames. Higher-level special units suffered heavy losses. If they did not have special attributes, they could be resurrected at a huge cost. The special units that died in battle alone were enough to resurrect them. Players are heartbroken. However, Una finally rushed out at this time. Unlike Rog, who can carry out powerful long-range attacks, Una is good at breaking through the defense line. The battle axe in her hand has 3 negative effects: tearing, knockback, and stun. All units in front of it are knocked away. Behind Una's huge body were dozens of high-level players and units. Relying on Una's torn defense line, they rushed inside like a duck to water, knocking down dozens of junior infantry in the blink of an eye, and regaining the advantage. Xiao Yunruo is the most proud. With Una's protection, the players behind her can't notice her at all. She can easily release magic. She can even retreat at any time without being blamed if she wants. Shen Xian was envious of Miss Xiao's skyrocketing level. Standing on the top of the fence and gaining experience, he only gained 1 level. It can be seen that the insidious system still takes care of single players. You can't have your cake and eat it too, either choose the level, or choose development. Thinking that she was his, he had nothing to be jealous of. Instead, he hoped that she would gain more experience and be able to be his personal bodyguard in the future. Transformer had a headache. The level 60 unit that ran out of nowhere changed the situation of the battle. As a last resort, Valiant and Transformer conspired for a moment to let the players who started the assault drive straight in, and then unexpectedly used counter-encirclement tactics to trap them. Facing Una's storm strike, the junior infantry were in a stalemate under the priest's turns to replenish their health. He noticed that Una's magic defense was very low, so he asked Freedom's mage players to use all their power. Many of the players who followed him into the underground world had already upgraded their spires. With the continuous supply of magic power from the elemental pool, Una's life dropped rapidly. When the demon Buddha saw this, his expression remained unchanged. He issued a few orders, and the barbarian crossbowman behind him jumped off the fence and ran towards the entrance of the dark passage. Rog ran out of magic and retreated, but the other players were not inferior. Under Transformers' arrangement, while restraining Una, they began to kill the surrounded players. Puff! Several players who had run out of life, had no priests and no potions, fell to the ground, and their souls turned into white light and were reborn. Xiao Yunruo looked very dangerous, and the mage who lost his protection could be killed instantly at any time. Several freedom players struggled to the death, using tasks to obtain various strange things, and began to greet everyone, such as goblin self-exploding bombs and dwarf traps. Many players were restrained due to lack of experience and were rushed towards them before they could react. The junior infantry were divided. Miss Xiao jumped up and down, hiding in the crowd and looking extremely low-key, but she was still caught by the experienced Baland and used her fighting spirit sword to jump into the air and slash her. The girl suddenly leaned back and hid behind a poor player. She only heard a hiss and the player was instantly killed. The moment she fell to the ground, her brain was still in a sluggish state. She muttered, "Unscrupulous god, beautiful girl touches me. It is obvious that beauty brings disaster." Shen Xian smelled something unusual, and always felt that his opponent had a trick up his sleeve. In the surface world, unlike the underground world, players could not fight each other to earn profits. Players in the surface world could either win the favor of local nobles, or unite to capture other countries, or enter the underground world. Miss Xiao's safety was not a concern. If she died, she died. It was normal anyway. How could she succeed without dying a few times? He thought about it and came to the outside of the fortress with the three heads. The fast-moving barbarian crossbowman climbed up the sentry tower near the entrance of the passage, and shot the mages in groups of 3 or 5. The free shooting from a high position was gratifying, and dozens of mages fell in an instant. However, the opponent was not willing to be outdone, and soon sent mages to burn the sentry tower. The wooden sentry tower could not withstand the fire and turned into ashes in an instant. The commanders of both sides were world-renowned masters, so it was difficult to see a one-sided situation. Whoever could occupy more advantages would often win the final victory. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 27. After a brief confrontation of more than 10 minutes, the units at the entrance of the passage were cleared, and Barent rushed over with the remaining soldiers. They shouted, "Revenge, fight for the dead prince." The junior infantry, who valued loyalty as their lives, bravely collided with the barbarians. Mad Confucian adjusted his formation, with the warriors moving forward, the crossbowmen moving back, and the berserkers rushing into the formation. Although the Zushan members at the entrance of the passage were cleared away, there were not many troops left by Barent. As for the members of Freedom, they were also at the end of their tether. Under the command of Mad Ru, they continued to fight fiercely, and the situation gradually became clear. The Freedom Guild lacked stamina and was swaying in the tide of barbarians. However, the leader of the Freedom Guild, the Transformer, did not show any regrets on his face, which made those who saw it very strange. Could it be that there is something hidden? Shen Xian suddenly discovered something. Several intertwined passages seemed to be related in some way. If he put himself in his shoes, it would be impossible for the opponent to adopt a single-point attack. If he wanted to achieve a greater victory with a smaller sacrifice, it was necessary to use a surprise attack. Judging from the appearance, the passage in front of me is very suspicious. He brought only a dozen or so wizard apprentices and swordsmen, and said to Demon Deo, I feel something is wrong. More than half of the opponent's units have insufficient health, and their numbers alone are not enough to fight us. Gaga, Boss Shen, do you think they have a backup plan? Then take these assassins with you. Yao Dao smiled and quickly understood what Shen Xian meant. If he doesn't know whether it is true or not, of course he needs to confirm it. If there is no backup plan, the battle was certainly won. If anything, it could have been nipped in the bud. Tip: the player Lord, China, accepts the task, to find lurkers and possible reinforcements from the opponent, and will be rewarded with 50 reputation and 2000 experience. The level 15 assassins sent by the Demon Deo were completely shrouded in black mist, and they couldn't see their specific faces. When they saw the mission rewards that suddenly appeared, they thought, what's the point of running an errand? Don't worry, I won't embarrass you. Yadao waved to him, knowing what he meant. Since the other party might be hiding his strength, he might use multiple attack tactics. Shen Xian's investigation alone would help him. It wasn't enough, so he yelled a few times in the guild, and several players ran out and ran in other directions. He couldn't see his fingers in the dark passage. Relying on the keen sense of the assassin, Shen Xian circled up the narrow road. From time to time, he could see the tangled forks and dead ends. He thought that the underground world was much more complicated than the surface world. No wonder the United Church no force can remove it. At this time, Miss Xiao's faint sigh came from the private message, and Shen Xian asked confusedly and found out that she had died. Death is the mother of life, why bother, Miss Xiao, he comforted. But, this is my first time, the girl said sourly, her resentful tone sounding like a widow's, which made him feel scared. It wasn't until Shen Xian heard the results of the battle that Xiao Yunruo had 23 kills and 83 assists that he said, is this really worth being so depressed? However, if you encounter players who are not ranked in the thousands of world WTP, not to mention 23 kills are enough for you to level up, and it doesn't matter if you die. Miss Xiao doesn't think so. What she really cares about is Shen Xian's life and death. She who refuses to admit defeat will never be mentally balanced unless she sees Shen Xian die. After returning to the territory, Miss Xiao entered the mage tower to retreat and practice. Shen Xian was still searching hard. He walked along the dark passage for several kilometers and finally found clues in an inconspicuous place. This is a mysterious ruins. It has been buried in the rock for an unknown number of years, with dust and yellow sand covering its surface. It seems that this ancient mage tower has completely collapsed, and the original structure cannot even be seen, whether it is a sophisticated clock tower or a rare plane. The mirrors all foreshadow the glory of the mage tower in those days. Shen Xian found several clear footprints on the road. It seemed that someone had been there not long ago. Although it was buried underground, there were still several passages connecting the surface and the underground world. If you were from the surface world and wanted to enter the underground through here, it really is an easy shortcut. Ding ding dang 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 came from not far away from the mage tower, a unique sound that could only be heard at a construction site. The alert Shen Xian hurriedly sent an assassin to pass on what he saw. In the picture, about 10 human farmers are holding tools and standing on tall scaffolding to build an arrow tower. Heavy wood is cut into timber, and the neat timbers are combined into an arrow tower. It looks very simple, but it has 1000 lives and 10 defense power. The arrow tower is difficult to dismantle, not to mention that the opponent does not only intend to build the arrow tower, but also builds a fence around it, and builds a warehouse behind the fence. No matter how you look at it, it is intended to be used as a temporary camp to prepare for long-term operations. Fortunately, Shen Xian has a better character these days, and he caught the other person casually. When he was feeling emotional, he quietly looked at the other person's identity, and the words "Gaul strong man, France," fell into his eyes. Gallic hunk, a legendary player ranked 243 in WTP, 45 years old, married. In the photo, he is casually wearing pajamas, slippers, and a big beard. He looks extremely vulgar. However, anyone who knows him knows that the Gallic hunk is not only not disliked by others, but also favored by popular models. Although things more than 10 years have passed, and all the celebrities of that year have given birth to children, but they are still talked about by many players, who look forward to having such an affair. Shen Xian was of course very envious of the Jaeluman. He thought that such a wretched guy could actually get the favor of a beautiful woman. Isn't it like a toad trying to eat swan meat? Which man would not be interested in beautiful women? Unless there is a disease somewhere, the most common topic among men must be around women. It is said that the Jaeluman is an extremely romantic player. In several world-famous business online games such as Immortal Kingdom and Tomorrow's Empire, he often builds incredible but artistic cities to win the hearts of beautiful women. In this regard, Shen Xian sighs that he is not as good as him, but he also knows that the Jaeluman is a technological player. Technological is a general concept, and its main feature is to win with elite soldiers, relying on equipment, technology, and level advantages to win with fewer people. Thinking of this, Shen Xian carefully observed the temporary camp he built and found that at least 7 or 8 elite players from the French Nihilum Guild were gathered. Few people on Earth don't know about the Nihilum Guild. Unless they are from another planet, they all know that the guild was established in the early 21st century, focusing on the World of Warcraft series. Later, the guild moved to numerous online games, with great achievements and a worldwide reputation. Although it was disbanded due to certain events, it rose again in the era when the Gallic strongmen dominated Nihilum. Online game DungeonMaster. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 28. Be careful. Since Lord knows that we have established a base here, he must want to know the reason. If he knows the content of the mission and triggers the conditions for the opening of the opposing mission, he can easily report to the fallen temple and then let the NPC send troops to encircle us, the Gaul man said softly. His expression was unprecedentedly serious. Behind him, several NPCs walked out slowly. The flaming flowing robe, the exquisite waistcoat inlaid with gems, and the emblem symbolizing the title. The red wizard behind him gave people a noble feeling, and his eyes revealed a shining look. Mr. Gaul, it's time to build. It's not convenient for us to take action against them. It's easy to be spied on by several great beings. Let you do it, the curly-haired wizard with a hooked nose said in an imperative tone, and several magical creatures that looked like elemental elves flew out through the space gate. Guiding magic circle and the Star Tower. With the cooperation of the elemental elves, several buildings existing in the high-level wizard tower were built. As for the Gaul hunk, he gave the curly-haired wizard a wretched look and then led his people away. Tip: the disgusting behavior of the player Gaul hunk, France, made the great wizard Lord Saran extremely dissatisfied, his favorability decreased, and the task reward experience and reputation were punished. After seeing these tips and cursing the shameless system, the Gaul hunk began to contact Transformer. Aha, Transformer, how is your task here? In English, Transformer said angrily, extremely dissatisfied with the Gaul hunk's lateness. I don't know English. Anyway, we can't make it now. I wish you can solve the members of the Zushan Guild as soon as possible. Transformer vomited blood after hearing this, and looked at the few remaining troops around him in a rage, wondering if he could still go back. It seems that the mission cannot be completed, and the thousands of experience points of the revenge mission of the Principality of Roland cannot be obtained. In addition, there is a chance to be promoted to a knight and the possibility of finding a hidden mission. I don't know what happened to the Gaul tough guy, but Transformer can conclude that it is not the Chinese players who are making trouble. Maybe he is hiding something from me. In the dark passage, the Gaul tough guy looked at Shen Xian's army and ordered a pursuit without hesitation. At this time, The narrow passage was full of the bodies of the little fire demons. Shen Xian seemed to have suffered heavy losses, but his main force, wizard apprentices and swordsmen were all retained, as well as the assassins provided by the demon. You guys chase them first, I feel a little stomachache. The blast furnace tough guy was chasing here with the members, but he suddenly stopped and said, "President, you have a stomachache? How could this happen?" Several members asked curiously, and several familiar members hurriedly explained, "You don't know, the president's daughter likes to cook very much, and she likes her father to taste it even more." Several members sympathized with the poor father and chased after him with the army. It is said that these elite players were deeply poisoned by the tough guy. After joining the guild for a few months, they have already understood the true meaning of sleazy. When they saw Shen Xian alone and a dozen panicked units, they all pounced on him like a big bad wolf seeing a lamb. Ginger is old and spicy. Of course, the few pink new masters can't compare with the tough guy in terms of sleaziness. Shen Xian is a player of the same level as the tough guy, so Shen Xian secretly cheered and hurriedly gathered the team to prepare for a Jedi counterattack. At the entrance of the Dark Passage, the small-scale battle between the Freedom Guild and the Zushan Guild has reached the final stage. Except for several higher-level units of Barent, the rest were killed or injured. The attack power of the barbarian crossbowman is really strong, and it is used to perfection in the hands of the three bosses. I believe that when the Transformer is killed and returned to his hometown, he will definitely be curious about why the Gaul tough guy did not appear. At the same time, for the Zushan Guild, the difficulty of the next revenge mission of the Principality of Roland will be much lower. After all, the number of players who can participate in the opposing mission is limited. For example, this time, unless the player is born in the vicinity of the Principality of Roland, he will not be able to receive the relevant mission. Freedom's failure lies in ignoring the possibility of Nihilum changing his mind midway. I believe that within a week, the small-scale disputes in the territory will make them exhausted. Who doesn't know that you are dying while you are sick? The scattered players who came from the Freedom Guild were originally in a weak position, but the war greatly reduced the strength of the guild. The weak can rise, and then there will be countless variables. The demon Buddha stood at the gate of the fence and listened to the report of his subordinates. The battle at the entrance of the Dark Passage is basically over. All the players of the Freedom Guild retreated. Because of the fast speed, only a few players who were blocked were killed. All the players who went to the branch of the Dark Passage returned. It seems that except for Boss Shen, none of them gained anything after reading the report. The demon Buddha thought that the mission was finally over. There was a lot of gains, but killing 1,000 enemies and injuring 800 of themselves, isn't their loss high? Guild wars are like a double-edged sword. They can quickly increase the level of units, but they can also cause damage to one's own strength. Thinking of the 500 troops brought by the Nihilum Guild, if they join forces with Freedom to eliminate them, the demon Buddha was terrified. Finally, it was resolved by Boss Shen. The demon Buddha sighed and asked, "Do you want to send someone?" "No, just tell me the location of the nearby sentry towers. I just need to get out of the battle. I guess I can't kill them, and they can't kill me either. By the way, Boss Shen, Heye Bai Tian has made outstanding contributions, but she has gained a lot of things during the battle." No way, with her strength, Shen Xian couldn't believe it. Not bad. After all, we didn't make a move, and there weren't many masters near the guild. That's right. How could the guild elites gather so easily? Shen Xian nodded. I don't know what good things Miss Xiao has gained, Shen Xian thought. Everyone, fight quickly, the boss thinks we can't kill Lord. If we can do it, we will be promoted to guild elders directly, several players shouted excitedly. The elders of the Nihilum Guild can enjoy a fixed annual salary, and have the opportunity to participate in the internal testing of the Red Alert series and the Life and Death series. It can be said that it is the other side of countless players' dreams. However, more players are thinking, is Lord really that easy to kill? For example, if he jumped directly into the cliff before dying, the system would not think that he was the one who killed him. I wonder if he would use such an insidious trick? Shen Xian certainly would not jump off the cliff. Unlike the martial arts novels where the protagonist gets a rare secret book after jumping off the cliff, if he jumps badly, not only will the character level drop, but the equipment will also be completely damaged. However, as some members thought, because the junior soldiers move faster and the wizard apprentices move slower, the lord who was chased and desperate actually jumped off the cliff. No way, he really jumped. Let's jump too, Elder. Here I come. An elite member who applied for the guild elder for 10 years and was not approved resolutely jumped down with extremely strong resentment. His figure disappeared in the endless darkness and then died. Wow, someone really jumped. Shen Xian looked up and admired the courage of this brother. As for the French players behind him, they looked at the cliff 5 meters away from their feet and the road surface half a meter wide, hesitating whether to jump down too. Whether you can jump to the other side depends on the initial speed. Anyone who has studied physics knows that the trajectory of the jump is similar to a parabola, so if you are too fast or too slow, you will sacrifice gloriously. Too perverted, how can there be such a perverted player? The French players looked at Shen Xian who was not far away, but they couldn't reach there. Forget it, the task is still important. Do you know what task the president is doing? The precondition of the regional task. Several members comforted each other, looked at Shen Xian with resentment, and left in disgrace. Finally safe, it's really thrilling. It seems that I should do less of this thankless task in the future. Shen Xian sighed, regretting that the assassin in ambush did not work, and thought about what task the Gall Macho was doing. Boss Shen, tomorrow's task is 100 junior shooters. Officer Mal, I believe you don't need to help, and Freedom is not able to get involved. Abandon the boss, right? Shen Xian joked. Unexpectedly, the Demon Buddha replied, Boss, shouldn't you accompany Heya for 100 days? How can we men let someone stay alone in an empty room? Damn, what's the relationship between me and her, do you understand? I understand, of course I don't understand, anyway, thank you. It was already 1 a.m. when Shen Xian returned to the territory with the wizard apprentice and the swordsman. This battle allowed his unit to upgrade by 1 level, but it did not suffer any losses. Seeing Miss Yao sitting in the library studying seriously, he couldn't help but think of the scene when he was studying. Mr. Erlin took the resources and tasks handed over by Carlos when he arrived, and handed them to him for reference. He completed several more novice tasks. At the same time, because Shen Xian had a high reputation, he got the opportunity to meet Lord Barossa, the Lord of the Peak Fortress. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Bulletin Lao Bulletin Si Bulletin Me. Chapter 29. Miss Yao, who seemed to be studying hard, was actually drowsy. Her cute head was swinging back and forth, revealing that she wanted to sleep but didn't want to. Seeing her like that, Shen Xian certainly felt a little pity. After all, she was still a college student, so how could he demand her with the conditions of an adult? In the early morning, the underground world was still extremely dark. With the help of the dim light, Shen Xian wanted to wake her up and let her go offline quickly. Who knew that the moment he pulled the girl's clothes, she, who had been chatting with Zhou Gong for a long time, shook her body and fell to the ground. The whirring sound continued, just like a dead pig. I don't know how Miss Yao's roommates would evaluate her. Shen Xian saw it and shook his head, and decided to help her to the mansion. Sleeping in the virtual world is not a rare thing. Although the brain does not stop working when you are asleep, in the kingdom, you can't continue playing games when you sleep, but you can trigger tasks by sleeping. I don't know if Miss Xiao can have such luck, Shen Xian thought. The girl behind him was extremely heavy. Miss Xiao was very heavy and restless when she slept. Her head and hands would move from time to time, and she would even drool. She was really unladylike. It was hard to imagine that a rich lady would have such a habit. Would she really get married in the future? When she arrived at the mansion, only Mistrelin was there. Because Ilya and Losander had a dedicated office, they did not need to occupy precious living space. Seeing the two of them, Mistrelin obediently lit a fire, and then boiled some tea and handed it to Shen Xian. It was winter in the underground world at this time. There was a thick fog outside. It was hazy and nothing could be seen. The temperature was very low. Drinking some tea could warm the body. Kingdom has reached the pinnacle of the world's simulation. Perhaps as technology continues to develop, the Myth Group will be able to create a completely real virtual world. With emotion, he browsed the latest game consultations, such as selling his body instead of his art to become the first player to occupy an NPC village and get a world broadcast, and there was a small-scale conflict between Zushan and Freedom and Nihilum. According to the established schedule, starting tomorrow, banks in various countries will officially accept players' capital injections, which is commonly known as cash exchange. It should be understood that cash exchange is not something that any company has the strength to do. First of all, it must have a strong influence in the world and have enough reputation. Companies and enterprises are obviously not possible, and they are easily restricted by the government. Except for the world's famous banks, there is really no institution that can meet the conditions. Apart from the government, banks are the institutions with the least racial and national prejudice in the world. They are pure businessmen, holding the property of most people in the world. They manage the world, and some people also say that they are the behind-the-scenes masters of the world. Therefore, banks are the most suitable institutions to act as agents for the cash exchange business. In order to prevent malicious competition among guilds and speculators from monopolizing the market, according to the bankers' estimates, the maximum exchange amount that each user can meet every day in the early stage of the game is 1,000 yuan, and the transaction amount is 100,000 yuan. This constraint will be gradually relaxed as the game progresses, so that the game's economy will grow steadily. Shen Xian felt a little headache when he thought about the hundreds of millions of funds that he had not transferred from several online games such as Immortal Kingdom and Honghuang Zhenba. At this rate, it would take at least 3 months for the game to allow the flow of hundreds of millions of funds. Now he could only rely on the early development advantages to slowly come. Plop, he suddenly heard a strange sound, turned around and saw that Miss Xiao had fallen off the bed. The body wrapped in a pure white robe accidentally revealed a little spring light, and the snow-white skin and blurred expression formed a beautiful picture. Shen Xian only felt that Miss Xiao was really attractive at this time, and wondered why he hadn't noticed it before. Quietly approaching, he looked at the girl's expression and saw that she was still in a state of ignorance. He thought that he admired her for being able to sleep to this extent. Although he wanted to have something ambiguous with her, he didn't know why he felt guilty. If it were normal, Shen Xian would definitely sleep next to her carelessly and pretend to know nothing the next day. However, today, he felt that after seeing her charming appearance, he really couldn't bear to do such an outrageous thing. "Forget it, I'll just let you go," he said to himself, and then grabbed Xiao Yunruo and carried her back to the bed. However, something unexpected happened to Shen Xian. He originally thought that Miss Xiao, who was sleeping like a dead person, would never wake up, but Xiao Yunruo woke up when he covered her with a quilt. The bright autumn eyes looked at him strangely, and he thought she would shout molest and pervert, but she didn't do anything. "Why haven't you slept yet?" Shen Xian asked curiously, and slowly and carefully took back his hand that was hugging her waist to avoid misunderstanding. Xiao Yunruo became more and more depressed, thinking that I wanted to forgive you for molesting me, but do you want to go even further? Why don't you sleep? Do you want to sleep with me? Shen Xian replied, of course not. Humph. You look so flustered that I know you are saying one thing and thinking another. Don't tell me you really don't want to, or that you are not interested in women at all. Xiao Yunruo muttered and pulled the quilt, trying to protect herself as much as possible. After hearing this, Shen Xian wanted to prove to her whether he was a man or not, but after thinking about it, he decided to ignore her words. Why would a grown man like him argue with her? Go to bed quickly, and remember to get up early tomorrow. Then he ignored the girl's questioning and turned into white light and went offline. Does Shen Xian really not like women? Miss Xiao wondered, staring at the place where the white light disappeared for a long time with curious eyes. Online game Dungeon Master. Author, Buletin Lao Buletin Si Buletin Me. Chapter 30. Underground World, Peak Fortress. The whistling wind swept across the land, and several huge flying dragons slowly landed. Several fully armed barbarians jumped off the backs of the flying dragons, followed by the local lord they escorted, Shen Xian. After the escort was completed, the barbarians rode the flying dragons into the air again. They still had a mission to complete and had no time to introduce him to the situation inside the fortress. The Throne of Destruction is located in the core of the Peak Fortress. If you enter along the outer perimeter of the fortress, you need to pass through 7 city walls to reach it. The place is heavily guarded. Looking around, you can see towering walls and barriers, which are made of the hardest rocks, with a height of 100 meters. After hundreds of years of war, they are stained with scarlet blood everywhere. The iron thorns that pierce the sky like swords are all over the city walls. At the door, the level 80 Storm Dancer and the level 75 War Servant stand like statues. From time to time, you can see the level 100 Destruction Monarch riding a thunder beast as big as a hill to patrol back and forth. The earth seemed to be shaking, and there was a strong desire to fight everywhere. Shen Xian admired the design of the Myth Company and wondered when he could develop such a perverted unit. At that time, it would be no problem to sweep across the human kingdom and flatten the realm of God. Entering the interior of the Throne of Destruction, the surrounding scenery suddenly changed. The old bricks and stones looked extremely strange and beautiful under the reflection of the red light. Even the solemn and magnificent background music could be heard, shaking the soul. This is a strange place where the power of space isolates the gods from peeping. Inside, the barbarian Lord Barossa hugged several charming dark elf girls and sat on the throne. His godlike body gave people invisible oppression, and his body seemed to be suffocated and fell into a stagnant state. On both sides, tall and exquisite stone statues stood, shining with strange purple light. The barbarian ancestors held several weapons such as battle axes, flails, halberds, crossbows, etc., and they were majestic and arrogant. Barossa looked at Shen Xian under the throne with a very satisfied expression and said, "Player Lord, the dark elves you paid tribute to me are quite to my liking. I haven't tasted the taste of dark elf virgins for hundreds of years. This is a gift to you." A miniature statue of the god of war appeared in Shen Xian's hand. Statue of the god of war, small, increases the attack power of surrounding friendly units by 20%, defense by 10%, range 2000 meters, condition is to be placed in the city center. The material of the statue of the god of war is pure obsidian that can swallow light like the abyss, which contains a ray of divine power from the god of war Sauron. The carving skills are superb, the appearance of the statue is lifelike, and the majestic eyes seem to be able to purify any evil that dares to blaspheme the gods. Items like this with divinity are all priceless and precious. For example, if the large statue of the god of war in the war square can be moved home, I believe countless players will flock to it, even if it is just to grab an arm or a toe. Compared with the statue of the god of war, the rest of the rewards seem insignificant. A few pieces of excellent equipment, idiots know that a bold boss like Barossa will not be so stingy. Only a shameless system will lower the rewards for the so-called balance. There are also 2 martial arts books of universal factions, suitable for all melee professions, including swordsmen, knights, thieves, warriors, etc. We barbarians have always worshipped the strong, player lord. The attack from the surface world is coming again. Do you know what to do? Is this a hint? Or Shen Qian looked at his serious face, very confused in his heart. As if to answer his doubts, behind the throne, the vague war fog gradually dissipated. In the picture, above the sea of clouds in the surface world with blue sky and white clouds, an extremely huge floating city is moving at high speed. The Tower of Silence controlled by the Red Robe Mage and the Eye of Judgment controlled by Mirandar are the 2 major forces of the Pharaoh Empire. However, the neutral Tower of Silence rarely appears in the airspace of the Empire. Most of the time, the Red Robe, who likes peace, is unwilling to disturb the residents who have an abnormal fear of magic and settles in the sunken sea in the north. What you are seeing now is the Tower of Silence, which is now moving at high speed towards the heart of the Pharaoh Empire. This mage tower was built 1,500 years ago by the legendary mage, Suakar Mand, known as the Sage of the North, joined forces with several red robes from the Mage Council to build it. They used countless technologies to make this huge city, which can rival the mountains, float in the sky. At the same time, they also bought expensive half-planes from merchants walking in various planes, and used secret techniques to set the entrance to the plane inside the Mage Tower. Lord Barossa wants me to find out the purpose of the Tower of Silence. Shen Qian thought about it and felt that the task was not ordinarily difficult. It is true that people are afraid of fame and pigs are afraid of being fat. When people have a reputation, troubles will follow. Well said. Barossa laughed loudly in approval. You have not received the title yet. If you want to get the title of Hereditary Knight, please work hard to complete it. There are also several types of titles. In addition to the traditional 5-level titles, there are also hereditary and non-hereditary titles. Hereditary lords can enjoy resource supplies, and non-hereditary lords have to pay tribute to resources, so there is a big difference. The 3 kings of the fallen temple monitor the world of heaven and hope for the power of the world tree. As their subordinate, I cannot leave here. Therefore, I want to give the task to you and let you complete it. Tip: currently, you can choose 3 levels of difficulty for the special task of upgrading the title. Tips: Mission 1, Alchemy Town, Ordinary Level, pay 1,000 wood, 1,000 stone, 1,000 food, and 1,000 gold needed for the development of the territory. Obtain the War Mill Blueprint, Black Halberd Blueprint, and Crossbow Blueprint, and build 5. As required, War Mill increases the production capacity of Black Halberds and Crossbows to 10 pieces per day. The reward is 100 reputation, 4,000 experience, 4,000 gold, and promotion to Knight, non-hereditary. Tip: Mission 2, capture the elite of the church, elite level, go to the surface world to find the bloodline guardian, the old paladin Reese, capture him and transfer him to the Peak Fortress. The reward is 300 reputation, 7,000 experience, 7,000 gold, and promotion to Knight, non-hereditary. Tip: Mission 3, the conspiracy of the Tower of Silence, heroic level, look for the movements of the Tower of Silence, find possible answers, and report to Barossa. Rewards: 1,000 reputation, 10,000 experience, 10,000 gold, promotion to Knight, hereditary. The normal level is the lowest difficulty, the task prompts are very obvious, and the rewards are also the lowest, so he will not choose the normal level. There are heroes who can challenge it, why not give it a try? Tip: the player Lord, China, received the mission, the conspiracy of the Tower of Silence. This mission is relatively difficult, so please treat it with caution. It seems that the attack on the surface world is coming. Does it mean that regional missions will also be opened? In order to attract players, game companies must open large-scale tasks for players to invest. Regional tasks are undoubtedly the best choice. Participants can reach tens to hundreds of thousands. This will help game companies understand the trends of the game and prepare for future world tasks. Be prepared to entertain casual players and make money for professional players at the same time. If this is the case, you must plan ahead.